When I tell you that Saul couldn't see anything before he ever had this encounter, he was already blind. It's just that now he was blind in the natural as well as in the spirit. He got up and he could see no more. Verse 8, Saul got up from the ground, and though his eyes were open, he could see nothing. And leading him by the hand, they brought him into Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither ate nor drank. Now watch this. This is where it starts to get good. Verse 10. Now there was a disciple at Damascus named Ananias. Thank God for Ananiases. There was a disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and the Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Here I am, Lord. And the Lord said to him, Get up and go to the street called Straight, and inquire at the house of Judas for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. And he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and lay his hands on him so that he may regain his sight. And I love this, and I can relate to this. Verse 13. But Ananias said, You sure about that? Lord, I have heard from many about this man, how much harm he did to your saints at Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priests to bind all who call on your name. But the Lord said, Go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine, watch this, to bear my name before the Gentiles. The who? Where do they live? The uttermost parts of the earth. We are now in chapter 9, verse 15. Is the promise fulfilled? No, not yet. He's just said, I've called this guy to be the one who does it. And you know what's interesting? This blows me away. The promise is still hanging out. There's still one little piece unfulfilled. But all this time, God's been working. All this time, God's been setting the pieces in motion. All this time, God's been doing everything necessary to get to this point, and even here he's not done. Because when we fast forward, and we're not going to go there, but when we fast forward to chapter 10, that's when we actually see the promise begin to be fulfilled with the house of Cornelius, a Gentile. And the funny thing is, God doesn't even use Paul to do it. He uses Peter. We actually don't see Paul reaching the Gentiles until several chapters later. So why would you share this on Christmas? Because I want you to see that the history, there's one history book in the New Testament. It's the book of Acts. And it's 28 chapters. Now, it doesn't end, it just stops because we're supposed to still be writing it. Oh, it keeps falling? Oh, thank you, sweetie. It's like 12 chapters in. It's 10 chapters before the fifth portion begins to be fulfilled, but it's really fulfilled in like chapter 12, 13. So almost halfway through the one history book, the promise of God is finally fulfilled. And y'all, we are still fulfilling it today. Like I said, this might seem like a strange thing to share on Christmas, on our Christmas celebration, but Christmas is the exact same thing. Christmas is a promise that God made to his people centuries before. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and they waited. And they thought maybe this, and then no. And then maybe this, and then no. And maybe, and no. And for generation after generation after generation after generation after decade after decade after century, and then on that dark, as we sang in that last song we just sung, that clear night, God fulfilled his promise. Amen. In the most unlikely of places, in the most unlikely of ways, at the most unlikely of times. He brought his son, he sent his son, the deliverer of all mankind, the Lord of all the earth. Listen, in a time when Israel was occupied territory. They were occupied by the Romans. What a time for the King of Jews, for the King of Kings and Lord of Lords to make his entrance. And so subtly, as Mom put it in prayer one of these Sundays ago, just flying under the radar.